The game of Whot is played with cards, and the cards have numbers and symbols on them. The numbers indicate how many points each card is worth, and the symbols don't have much to do with the points except for the stars, but I'll talk about that later. To start the round, the dealer shuffles the deck, and then the player to the right of the dealer cuts the deck. Once this is done, the dealer deals out 6 cards to each player. Once all the hands are dealt, the dealer places the remainder of the cards in a deck in the middle of the table. The round begins when the player to the left of the dealer lays down the first card. This card has to have a symbol and a number on it. Moving clockwise, the next player has to match either the symbol or the number on that card. In this case, this player doesn't have either of those, so they have to draw. Incidentally, you can draw at any time instead of laying down a card, but the goal of the game is to run out of cards, so this could be counterproductive. After drawing, the next player goes, and this player has laid down a 7 of crosses, which means the next player has to lay down a 7 or a cross. And so the next player lays down a 7 of stars, and stars are interesting because as you can see here, their score value is actually doubled. You don't have to match the score when you lay down your next card, but it's important at the scoring point in the game. After the next player plays a 5 of stars, the dealer has a decision to make. They have a star in their hand, but they also have a wild, so they decide to play that. When you play a wild, you announce a new suit that everyone has to match. In this case, it's going to be squares. Play continues until one player runs out of cards in their hand. When this happens, all the other players look at their cards and add up the points. To find your score, look at the numbers on your cards and add them up. It should be pretty simple, except for the stars, which we've already said have double points. So in this case, the 2 is worth a 4. As you may have guessed, in this game, points are a bad thing, and as soon as a player gets to 100 points, they're out of the game. Once all the scores are recorded, the next dealer picks up the deck and the whole thing starts all over again. Now you might be interested to know that this game started in England, but in Nigeria, it's kind of become the national card game. So they have their own spin on it. In their version, the wild card isn't the only special card in the game. For instance, when a player lays down a 1, it means they get another turn. Laying down a 2 means the next player has to draw 2 cards and put them in his hand, unless they lay down another 2, which means the person next to them has to draw 4, unless they lay down another 2, which means the person after them has to pick up 6, and it keeps going until people stop laying down 2s. In a similar fashion, if you lay down a 5, then the next player has to draw 3 cards, and if they lay down a 5, then, well, you get the idea, it's the same exact thing. When you lay down an 8 that has a star with it, then that means that the next 2 people lose their turn. Of course, if you just lay a normal 8, then that just means one person loses their turn. But, yeah. The last special card in the game is the 14, and the 14 means that everyone has to draw a card, except for the person who laid down the card. It's a great way to make friends. These next 2 rules are for near the end of the game. When a player has laid down enough cards to only have 2 cards left in their hand, they have to announce it by calling out, "Semi-last card." In the same vein, when they're down to 1 card, they have to announce it as "last card." A player that forgets to do this is penalized by having to draw 2 more cards and put them in their hand. Unlike Uno, you're not safe if the next player takes their turn before you announce your lack of cards. If anyone catches you with 2 or 1 cards without announcing it, you have to draw. So those are the basics of the game Whot. And if you have other rules that you know of, please send them my way. And until next time, this is Hogwash, over and out. I'll catch you later.